Hello, and welcome to our Intro to Humanities midterm presentation. Today, we're going to tell you about ancient Greek mythology's most dramatic family, the Zeuses. If we went through every relationship Zeus has ever had, this video would be longer than the class is being made for. So for the sake of everyone involved, we'll just stick to Zeus's official relatives, meaning we won't cover any extramarital affairs or the results of them. However, we highly recommend that you look into it yourself if you're interested. He really got around. Before we get into Zeus's family tree, we're going to go over a bit of backstory. There are 3 orders of Greek gods that are relevant to us today. These are the primordial gods, which are gods said to have been there from the beginning of time. Zeus's grandparents were members of this order. The Titans. These are children of the primordial gods. Zeus's parents were members of this order. And the Olympians. These are the gods that associate most closely with humans and rule over Mount Olympus. Zeus and his children are members of this order. That being said, it's important to note that there are more primordial gods and more titans than just the ones listed in this presentation. It's also worth mentioning that being a child of Zeus was not enough to be considered an Olympian. Only 2 of Zeus's official children are considered Olympian gods. With that out of the way, let's start our presentation with the man of the hour, the king of Olympus himself, Zeus. Zeus is the current king of the gods. He is the god of the sky, weather, law and order, and destiny. Though he is the youngest of his siblings, he is sometimes considered the oldest because he had to free his siblings from their father's stomach. The method he used depends on the version of the story being told, but generally, he either cut open their father's stomach or used a tonic given to him by the goddess Metis. Perhaps the most well-known of the gods, he has been featured in numerous pieces of media, including Disney's Hercules. Despite his depiction there, Zeus was often volatile and petty, as his involvement with mortals left plenty of demigods running around on Earth. The most famous of his illegitimate children is, predictably, Heracles. However, many of Zeus's other children were full gods in their own right, including Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Aphrodite, Hermes, and Dionysus. The grandparents. Zeus's grandparents, as we saw in the introduction, are primordial gods. This means that they were the first to be born of the void of chaos. They had several siblings, including the first gods of the sea in the underworld, which would later be taken over by Zeus's siblings. As an aside, Zeus's grandparents also gave birth to the Cyclopses. We recommend reading Homer's Odyssey if you'd like to see the most famous of them, Polyphemus, in action. That being said, let's get into who each of Zeus's grandparents were. Gaia. Gaia was Zeus's grandmother. She is responsible for the lives of every other god, including Zeus's grandfather. Gaia was goddess of the earth, and she birthed the Titans, the giants, and the primordial sea gods. She is the first of many women in Greek mythology to be considered mainly an antagonist. She rebelled against her husband by saving Cronus, sided with Zeus when he later overthrew Cronus, and attempted to overthrow Zeus herself by sending several monsters to kill him. Needless to say, these attempts failed. Uranus. Uranus was Zeus's grandfather. He was the first god of the sky, as well as being a primordial god. Uranus imprisoned Gaia's youngest children in Tartarus, deep within Earth, where they caused pain to Gaia. She shaped a great flint-bladed sickle and asked her sons to castrate Uranus. Only Cronus, youngest and most ambitious of the Titans, was willing. He ambushed his father and castrated him, casting the severed testicles into the sea. The parents. Now let's talk about Zeus's parents. They were part of the Order of the Titans. While the Titans are mostly considered to be the second generation of gods in Greek mythology, this order does contain several of the second generation's descendants. This group contains the first 12 of Rhea and Uranus's children. And these 12 were the gods included in the first Greek pantheon. Now let's get into Zeus's parents. Cronus. Cronus was Zeus's father as well as the god of time. He was king of the Titans after overthrowing his father at his mother's behest. He married his sister and had many children with her. However, having learned that one of his offspring was fated to overthrow him in the same way he had Uranus, Cronus swallowed each baby as it was born. Only their youngest, Zeus, survived through a trick of Rhea's. However, Zeus later went on to free his siblings from his father's belly, and they went on to overthrow him, just as he had feared. Rhea. On that note, Rhea was both the mother of Zeus and known specifically as the mother of gods. She and her brother Cronus had many children, but Cronus swallowed all of them as they were born. Rhea eventually grew too sick and heartbroken of this to take any more of it. She managed to save their youngest child, Zeus, by feeding Cronus a stone wrapped in infant's clothing. She then arranged for Zeus to be raised in secret, with help from her mother, Gaia. The siblings. Third, we're getting into Zeus's siblings. These were the first of the Olympians. They were named this because they resided on Mount Olympus. The Olympians are generally considered to be the third and fourth generation of gods, though there are exceptions to this rule. Officially, there are 12 principal gods, and they comprise the current Greek pantheon. But there are many other gods that reside on Olympus, and thus are also Olympians. They overthrew the Titans through a 10-year-long war of the gods, in which Zeus eventually won power from his father Cronus, with the help of his siblings and his grandmother. It is worth noting that while Hades is Zeus's brother and helped to win this war, he is often not considered an Olympian because of how far the underworld is from Mount Olympus. That being said,